Workspace is still where we create our stuff.
Absolutely.
So back to
So,
the question
go
I
ahead.
asked 26 minutes ago.
It was kind of, yeah. You know what it's like talking to me. You gotta corral me a little bit. Go ahead.
Office 365. It's not just the webified version of Office. With my subscriptions, do I get the rights to install Office like I did have since 1995?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
And it really depends on the level of license and subscription agreement that you have with Microsoft.
Okay.
So you've got you've got Office 365, you've got Office 365 for Business, and you've got Office 365 Enterprise, E1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but it's really E3 and 5 is what we're most concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
Those you do get the rights to do the install of Office Professional Plus on your endpoint devices. And so as we were talking about, so when, say you're deploying Microsoft Surface devices out and some form of mobile device, for instance, the Android or even an iPhone, you have the ability to install those applications, the Office Pro Plus suite, on up to 5 devices.
Okay.
You're licensed for that. And that's specifically end device entitlement per subscribed user, right? And I really don't want to get too heavily into how Microsoft licenses their stuff, because they've got reams of documents on that.
Yeah.
But there's a nuance to that. When you move to VDI scenarios and remote desktop services scenarios, or better yet, XenDesktop and XenApp scenarios, the licensing is not necessarily device-based. It's user-based at that point. So there are mechanisms that are brought to play, and there are licensing types that Microsoft has put in place for those scenarios, specifically what they call shared computer activation. And what that means is it's a license mechanism that enables a user to connect to, let's say, a XenApp farm where it might have 1,000 servers in it with various different application types, but all of which rely on some type of hook-in to Office Professional Plus, right? So think different line of business applications hosted on different servers within a larger farm, all hooked in to make API calls to, say, Outlook or Word or Access, those types of things. Yeah. So a user might actually technically be executing Office on 100 different servers over, say, a 30-day period. And those licenses have to be able to roam. So shared computer activation enables an administrator to install Office Professional Plus on the XenApp or XenDesktop pooled VMs. Yep. And then any user can log into any one of those different systems. I know you're familiar with the whole concept of hoteling, right? That came out 15 years ago or whatever. And it's basically user roaming through different devices using the applications they need to come to. Shared computer activation for Office Professional Plus enables that from a Office 365 subscription licensing perspective.
And keeps everybody legal and falls within
absolutely.
At least that 5-user device. But so it's a scenario now for Office 365 and Citrix, outside of any other argument, is instead of installing your righted versions, your legal versions, legally allowed versions of Office on 5 different devices, pull it up or install it on a XenApp XenDesktop server. Employees gain access to that one installed copy several times over. It's still legal, and it's centralized, and it's managed, and you're not managing 10,000 different copies of Office.
Correct, and then exactly. So it's the user's subscriber entitlement that enables them to use it across those different scenarios, and that allows things to roam between data centers. When a hybrid cloud scenario, it might be in Azure, it might be on premises. It really doesn't matter, because the mechanism is tracked per the user. Yep. Now that brings up a really interesting point, is that and because this is a relatively new system, especially when you introduce Office 365 subscription licensing into a shared hosted environment, there have been, more and more layers of detail that had to be discovered, had to be innovated for over time. Microsoft, just within the last couple of weeks or so, has enabled what they're calling, I believe it's called roaming tokens. And what that enables from a technical level is, whereas before, whenever a user logs in to Office 365, they're prompted to activate their subscription for that user on that device. When you're in a roaming scenario across XenApp servers, the ability for the token that it acknowledges whether or not that user is activated now roams across all of those different systems. So they're only prompted the first time for the activation, and then that activation automatically updates over time, just like Office 365, and the apps within Office Professional Plus update over time based on the click-to-run mechanisms, right?
So
Go
now
ahead.
2 questions on that. So is that token being stored in the user's profile, and you have to have roaming profiles in order for that to work effectively?
The answer is it is stored in the user's profile, and you have to have a centralized profile mechanism, whether it's roaming profiles, a file share, or user profile manager, or various other ones. Microsoft has crafted it in a way, as long as there is a centralized repository for that user's token, it is then mapped.
And then there are profile considerations along the same lines when talking about Outlook, because Outlook's information that it stores in the user profile too can be a little tricky when it comes to Office 365. I'm not going to get into it here. I just want to plant that little mustard seed for maybe a future conversation, that there are things to look at when considering Outlook in this hosted scenario.
Absolutely, and we've published a deployment guide, and we're constantly upgrading that deployment guide.
Special thanks to our guest Kurt Moody today to talk about Office 365. Don't forget, subscribe to this channel to get updates on more Tech Talks to go. Read the blog, citrix.com/blogs, and just look for Kurt Moody. Also, go to citrix.com/Microsoft for your one-stop shop for all collateral Citrix and Microsoft related. Follow us on Twitter, look for emails about future episodes, and don't forget, leave your topics, questions, and comments down below in the comments section. Also, don't forget to subscribe. It's one click.